спочатку це відбулося на засіданні
was the meeting of the special committee of the Security Council of Parliament, and during our events at our institution, we also approved that. So how did it happen? We had a monitoring special monitoring group, which considered 4 main education institutions in Ukraine, and to their surprise, they learned that these educational institutions can answer all the questions and meet all the requirements which they set. So our agency works according to the standards of NATO, and these standards, regulations, recommendations as for the ensuring of higher education in the whole European sphere. It is absolutely correlated with the NATO requirements. So our agency has been working for the 3rd year, and this is it's not our main purpose, but it came along, and our requirements are the same like requirements from NATO countries to military education. This means that we have made our own contribution in our educational sphere and standards, NATO standards. It's not only about the military army, it's also about the standards of how do we work, how our society works, how our governmental agencies work. It's all very important for our society, and joining NATO is in the realm of national interest for Ukraine. Thank you very much, Sergey. It was really interesting how military aspect of military education actually advances us towards NATO. The annual national program envisages this educational component as well, and I would like to ask Andrei Levos to tell us about the initiative, how did we come to creating this advocacy group, why public oversight is needed. Please, the floor is yours. Thank you very much. Yes, these hard times when Ukraine is. So I don't want to get about political issues. This is obvious that Ukraine goes through the period of contradictions, internal, external, but it's really important for us to create a space for dialogue, platform for dialogue, for people who support the main ideas, the main concepts, and one of the most important of them is sovereignty of Ukraine. And also ensured by our constitution.
Який відбувся не так давно, в червні цього року, дав дуже...
In June of this year, we developed a formula which is clear, it's very unequivocal. So what Ukraine should be doing in order to be admitted to NATO. So it was the first membership action plan, and also annual national program. So how do we form this program? And I believe we will present that a little bit later together with the assessment. So I just want to give it in a few words. So what do we base this initiative, this program on? So can we start with the presentation? It will take some time. While the presentation is about to be uploaded, I'd like to say that the annual national program it's not a general set of messages. It's when we can see.
Так що, ну, звісно, що дуже шкода, що
Unfortunately, our politicians do not read this presentation and this program because it is implemented and this brought into force by the decree of the president. It happened back in May this year. And so what do you start with? The first question is, how can we create a public oversight council if we have direct demands from the laws which refer to the public oversight?
в них перше стоїть це, да. Це на чому базується? І це базується, власне,
It is founded or based on our program is based on
що
the decision that ANP is important and there is a legal provision for it. And we agreed to create this aggressive group. We were governed by experience, our past experience, especially taking consideration the modern situation of Ukraine back in 2016. Civic, which also took active part in this activity, aggressive resistance, and other dignitaries of Kaprinik. And we started national roundtable understanding for future European for the European future of Ukraine. It was September and August and October 2016, just on the eve of the Revolution of Dignity. And in September, we introduced such control and monitoring mechanisms which could enable the experts to work with not only experts community but with the state agencies. So today, back in the day, when you remember that we had association agreement with the European Union, which at first was agreed by the government and then and you heard and at that time you also heard the word Euromaidan, because we could see that mostly some strategic issues were actually failed, but instead we had a progress towards Russia. So that's the day that such as like not enabling Russians to disrupt it.
ну, такий двигун, скажімо, прогресу. Зараз ситуація звичайно
Locomotive of the progress. And today the situation is different because the last
органів. Реформа Служби безпеки України. Там були
service reform is a huge part of humanitarian issues, information security, and also many structural things in a state administration. So it's like cross-cutting program of reforming, or maybe not reform, but reconstruction of Ukraine in order to not just to meet the requirements of calibers of cannons, but to meet the requirements, but meet on bigger scale, meeting the values, because this is alliance of values. And before you ask yourself why you are not in NATO, I understand the national context, because many countries also have different issues with that, but they should have simple joint basic values. So, for example, we have district court after the name, quotation marks of the main judge involved, and without political slogans, without anything like that, that we can see and check whether our government implements those laws, and it gives us the first stage, the first basic issue is constitution of Ukraine. So when I was
Зробили важливу таку зміну до Конституції,
we
додалося.
made a great contribution to our constitution by by introducing the issue of NATO aspiration into the incorporating it into constitution. So self-organized, our self-organized action is based on the law of national security. So we work a lot on this law, and also together with national consultants and with our international partners, we submitted article number 10. Here you can see it in the condensed way. It's like public expertise that what we are doing currently. And what instruments do we have? What instruments community and society can use? And this is a great part of annual national program. As you can see that like this. And the law of Ukraine on NGOs, we won't touch on that longer. So we have this right in the constitution, and we will exercise this right. How it's gonna go, we will see. We will see, because our time is limited, and I'd like to give as much information in order to have a lesser number of questions later. And how it's going to be self-regulated. Procedures are the most important for us, because they must be transparent and clear for everyone. So we start our activity with the discussion of the main provisions, because I want to rate the focus that neither me nor staff nor we are not members of an national program, but I believe that addresses the staff experts as well. So how did it start? Before the June summit NATO, there were several topics, several issues for verifying Ukrainian issues, and we communicated always with the representatives of the Civic society, and also we tried to create an institute which limits political input here. And the first thing which we did is the development of assessment technology. Let me focus. It's not the final assessment. It's interim or midterm assessment, and final is signing an application. So this is also initiative of our advocacy group. We call it Public Oversight Council. And the consultations which are open, we finally decided on the final list of experts. It doesn't mean that this is like fixed number or fixed composition of that group, but today we are going to present the visions of Public Oversight Council and suggestions as for qualitative and quantitative compositions. So sorry for again, thank you, and I suggest to change our agenda. I'd like to present the structure briefly, then we will vote, because I know that some of our honorable initiators maybe we have to finish earlier. So and then I will give the properties and assessment. So do we see the slides on the structure? So please have a look at the slide where you can see the structure of the Public Oversight Council. This is our principal scheme, which should lead us to the success. The expert council performs assessment and monitoring. The staff of Public Oversight Council, which you can see here, conducts or performs managerial functions, and also we conduct coordination with the policy, and we believe that it will lead to creation of interfactional association in our parliament. And in this case, we will also have not only public oversight council, but we will have this control exercised by parliamentarians. Here you can see a brief information about our plans. We will share that information with everyone. You'll find it on our official website. Before the end of this year, we are going to announce the priorities of things which were supposed to be implemented, and in February we are planning to do that assessment. And Cabinet of Ministers is about to announce that in February. In May there is a parliamentary assembly, and in August and September we can assess it from May to May. And also we are going to conduct events, to hold events according to the skills of in the fields which we assess. So now I'd like to put it for election on the provision of our public oversight council. I suggest we do it in the form of consensus. Please tell me, do you have anyone within the public oversight council who has any remarks? Excuse me, let me cut in. Voting is important, but I think that in order to show everything, our approach, because we invited people to participate in this council, and I think that the whole material, because it looks like we have voting in parliament. Maybe you have some remark as for the procedure, how to do it better. Now I'm addressing our representatives, Volodymyr and others. I believe that it deserves to be discussed, because then we will go into assessment. So who would like to be the first? Then Volodymyr, and then this good evening, dear colleagues. Thank you for invitation. This is a really pressing matter and needed, and I'd like to support Andriy in his second as for avoidance of voting, because when we look at everything represented to us, then in working conditions we will so let's abstain from voting now, and when we come to the discussion, what is annual national program, I will get more detailed discussion of it when we start informal. Thank you.
Так, і потім пан Олексій Гарань.
And Olексій Гарань.
Пане Йосифе, ми вас не чуємо.
We don't hear you because I didn't start good everyone. Happy to see everyone, and I totally agree and support this initiative. Andriy invited me out of the day, despite being busy. I agreed. I believe that you are no less busy than you, so I have several questions. I work in different fields, but I supported more than 50 years. I have never worked in this regard. I have questions. So the first question to the expert, because I'm not an expert, are there any examples that a country which has a conflict with other countries, it's internal conflict, domestic conflict, or like it's a conflict between Greece and Turkey, they're both NATO members. So is there an example of a country which was admitted into NATO despite the country? This is the first question. The second question, I have an experience, well, it was a long time, and working in Ukrainian health. It also was created back in 1976 as a group which was even at the moment when Helsinki Agreement was signed that Soviet Union was cheating. So what is our task? Are we supposed to compromise our government in the eyes of the world community? So it just mimics its desire to join NATO, just for the sake of saving its rates, which plummeting down. I don't believe, I don't have even 1% of trust to our government and its desire, its genuine desire to join NATO. And it's just pretending that it wants to join NATO. That's what I believe. So this is my question. What is the purpose of our Public Oversight Council, of the oversight over annual national plan to support the government, to compromise the government? I've already asked about the example.
Зараз просто пан і будемо тоді переходити до коротких відповідей і
Well, now we are going back to questions and answers. Alexei, I have a question which supplements or maybe contradicts the viewpoint of our media citizens. So I already asked that question during the initial stage of information of Public Oversight Council, and I actually understand what they're doing. But I'd like to reiterate it and to focus it for other members. I remember really well that initiative back in 2016. And what was her name? What was its name again? Stop. I don't hear it.
Ну, неважливо.
Well, it's not really important. So the idea was that to gather and joint efforts to monitor our advanced European structures, and at least we managed to have government representatives sitting at the same table. So it's like dragging them into that, and they actually got committed to perform all the necessary deeds. As for our group, here, obviously, if we look at the composition of our staff, most people criticize Zelensky. Some people are attributed to a group of Poroshenko supporters. Actually, I always tell that I'm not his supporter. But people mostly are known for their criticism of the government. So I don't want that we can be considered like opposition structure. Maybe it is a good idea of inviting some neutral representatives of the government who also works in this regard, if there are such people. I believe that organizers took that into consideration, but as I see now, we don't have such results. So ideologically, if you look and looking at the composition of group, looks or can look like opposition. Thank you.
пане Олексію,
Alexei, and Joseph, I'd like to tell you that the best example as for the country which is Western Germany, which they didn't have determined borders.
П'ятірку ставлю. Це мій аргумент.
This is excellent, Mark, which I need you.
Дуже дякую.
And now I give it to ANP, and this is a good question. Actually, both of them are good. So we today we gather people who have some attitude to Zelensky, and it can appear that we are trying to press him against the wall, demanding some answers from him. So our platform, if from executive power and from present administration, we want to have any representatives who at least will have some litmus paper, and we will check every action, especially answering this question why Ukraine is not in NATO. And as for the assessment results, we are very objective. As for the annual national plan, because this is assessment not of the landscape, this is assessment of our government, how did it perform its function, and for community legitimacy of our platform.
Ми вважаємо,
We believe that
найкраще оптимальний статус виходить
the best composition of our group, and as an example, to public oversight, that's our public oversight councils, which were created by our partners for National Anti-Corruption Bureau, for National Agency on Corruption Prevention. So actually, we copy-pasted that public oversight council and provisions. And we talked about 15 members of it. So one of the first steps which should be taken, we actually
виступили з
like you who are members of this oversight council. Maybe we also can publicly invite people who are supporting this government, and in this case we will achieve some balance. It will be actually good. As for the cooperation with the executive power, well, paradoxically, but we have it. So the assessment is based on our correspondence with the government and the experts who engaged. They made the assessment of their plans and measures, and we had a communication with the Office of European Integration, and also with parliamentarians who are sincerely eager to help our initiative. And we believe that if we continue along this course, we should put aside all our political preferences, because this is a public oversight council. It shouldn't be like a specialized body of experts who know how to integrate into the NATO. It should be a cross-cutting of civic society, pro-Western, pro-Ukrainian orientation, and such people who would definitely support joining NATO. And this group which you have right now is Victoria, and other people who we addressed, and we also would like to ask you to support our signals. We addressed it all at Lena and others, so we can have the whole spectrum of Ukrainian public activists and public and opinion leaders who represent this or that audience can be represented in our public oversight council, and then we will have a better procedure without any political flaws and errors to adopt decisions and develop recommendations. So we're open for dialogue, and without anything hidden in our agenda, we would like to welcome anyone who wants to join us in this. If they don't want that, we will act according to our constitution. We guarantee us our rights. That we agree. And now I'd like to give the floor to Dmitro with analytical assessment, and after that, finalize it with voting. So I'd like to reiterate that this is an interim assessment of annual national program for 2021. What I'd like to say. So right now, the capstone documents are charter of the city partnership between Ukraine and NATO signed back in 1997, and
Мерство від 2009 року.
complemented charter back in 2009, So these documents envisage development of such annual national programs under the auspice of Commission Ukraine NATO and started from 2009. They are being developed. These are the main mechanisms implementing the plans. So let me one more reiterate that the elements of the communique of press release from last summer to NATO, there are 3 points outlined. So plan as for the membership is main part of Ukrainian aspiration, annual national programs under the auspices of the Commission NATO Ukraine is the main mechanism which helps Ukraine advance its reforms. And the final one, Ukraine has fully used all available instruments in the framework of Commission Ukraine. So here we have such organizations which supported us, communicative platform, media, antitrust, educational initiative, Center of Defensive Strategy, Center of Countering Corruption, Association Ukraine, and also like of course, it's one of our experts. He has actual political service.
Імені Андрія Малишевича. Це пана Леонтія Шипілова, кандидат.
Alexander Shapiro is associate professor of Kiev National University. Now let's continue. This year, annual national program was adopted by the decree of the president in May, and according to the provisions of that program, the next stage was represented by the Cabinet of Ministers, the plan of events to implement this annual national program. It's a huge document which consists of 5 parts, which are further subdivided into strategic parts, most of that is 10 actions, 26. And as you can see, a very extensive, comprehensive document. In order to assess it, we have developed factor of performance, which shows the progress, the advancement of the program. As you can see,
Робоче вікно оцінювання.
So this is a window of assessment on behalf of each expert, and I'd like to show you the methods according to which we did that. So the whole range of events was further subdivided into 12 technical directions, and an expert was engaged for each particular field, and the assessment looked like that. As you can see on the slide, average expert assessed the level, the indicator of performance for each event. So 1 if it was implemented or completed, 0.5 if it was completed partially, or 0 when there is no information or no available data about the progress of this event. Also we introduced factor or criterion for different events. For example, one event was development of a law and adoption of it, and on the other was participating in a roundtable discussion for the development of managerial decisions. Other factor was relevance factors. What I'm talking about the importance of some tasks and events during certain time was many times articulated in other documents. It can be international agreements, the European Union Association Agreement, or other laws like the law national security and final clause and famous as address of ambassadors of the G7 as for the continuation of reforms or other cornerstone documents. So this relevance factor was reiterated several times. This factor was raised actually the criticality of that event. And further, we had the actual score of performance and possible maximum score, what you can get for full implementation and completion of event. And these assessments were summed up at the end. I'd like to draw your attention to the sources of information which we assess. These are governmental documents and the report on the implementation of annual national program, and also information for the third quarter of the 2021, information which was provided by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Let's go to the results. Here you can see the distribution of whole range of tasks according to different categories or rubrics. And also it's a real completion, possible completion, and the percentage of its completion. I'd like to draw your attention to the final, to total numbers. We can say that according to our methods of assessment, we can see 711 points out of 1,237. So in total, we have 57.5% of defense completed. And as you can see in such sectors of defense and security, 65% of tasks completed, and events in the sphere of international policy performed up to 82nd 2%. And as for the economics and the monopoly sphere, it's about 65%, and the energy sector, it's about 37%. Then I'd like to share my impressions of this event and this midterm analysis. Unfortunately, we don't have like a bigger picture of what was achieved and what was not achieved, because the implementation of that program has quite a fragmented nature, kind of mosaic nature. On the slide, which you can see what was done, what are the advantages, stronger parts on behalf of the performing this plan. So it's a range of the documents which were adopted.
І які не прийняті, не затверджена антикорупційна
strategy for the upcoming years, and this is really bad because it slows down the whole range of further actions in anti-corruption policy. No elaborated normative or legal base for functioning a system of procurement in defense sector, not regulated measures for the airspace and for rights of airplanes and a lot of other things. And it gives me an impression that we have
самої
for
програми.
forming of the program itself, it doesn't show that they use some principles which are based on the result-oriented principle. Result-based management. This program and this plan, they have to give impression of some agreement, like interagency agreement And these documents, they raise some questions, but I think that it will be the topic of our next surveys and research. So I presented the main result. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer. Thank you, Dmitro. And I know that our honorable participants have questions and some and we will come up with a short statement, and after that, well, I just wanted to avoid the question. We did the analysis of the measures taken by the government, and in this regard, we are thankful for the methodology. So this is a training which gives us an insight and society, because the numbers, they don't tell much. So annual national program is formed by Ukrainian government, and it is not formed by some well-understood strategy how to achieve a task. We discuss with our partners on the tasks aims, but the plan of events, the plan of measures, it's like interagency consultation plan. Each ministry just suggests its ideas and wishes. Some of them are good, some of them are topical, and some of their suggestions are trivial. So our next step in this regard, we will be talking about that. Besides assessment, we will also talk about our recommendations, which we should elaborate in order to help develop the next annual national plan. So what would we like to be included in it? And this is really important because
Стично вирахована по плану заходів уряду. Дякую.
Ну і власне, окрім моніторингу, у нас
and besides monitoring, we have some best practice, good practices, recommendations for law deals, and we will be happy to share that with parliamentarians. Thank you very much, Andriy, and I see that we have questions and some statements on behalf of Anton Sernenko and Volodymyr Onyszko. We should take into consideration we have only 10 minutes left, so let's be quick. Volodymyr, the floor is yours, sir. Very briefly, we are talking about very good things, but we also have to stick to the reality. So annual national plan is kind of a basket for the ministries to show everything they want without actually a good coordination with the tasks. As when you look at that stuff that they put in this basket, you will see things which are just tactical by nature and have nothing to do with their actual plan in order to help Ukraine meet the requirements for receiving MAP. And before we start talking of implementing this plan should be created in a way that it becomes kind of a map, like a road map towards NATO, but not in the way which we have right now. So I took many good parts in many organizations and initiatives like that, but it creates a lot of blah, 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 and I don't want to follow the same way. So my suggestion is not to wait until the next May when we will be given a next set of recommendations which have nothing to do with the real strategy, but maybe we should instead take into consideration how can we formulate these issues and to give it to the government in the form of recommendations, and not in a way like giving every ministry a leeway for writing everything they want. For example, so the ministry, each ministry which receives that request what are you going to input into annual national plan? Do you believe that they will do their best in order to supplement it? No, definitely not. There are several people who are just trying to formulate it somehow, and usually it's like a botched word. So it's going in circles. So I believe that all our assessments and resulting percentage, it's just the fantasy, excuse me, because it's too far away to reality. So if you want to make a real contribution, we are not talking about politics, but about national interest. We have to formulate such things which our government has to show as a real tangible result of their work. So let's say that in a year, if we talk about judicial reform, we adopted several reforms, and now we implement them, and here goes transformation. But when we say we need like 350 computers for the Ministry of Justice, this is absurd. So I would recommend to go from the other end, not wait until they recommend us something or suggest something. Yes, it's not easy, but I would say that we should start recommending them. And this needs a lot of work on behalf of our colleagues. It's not only security and defense, it's legal matters, information matters. And only after that, to address cabinet ministers and the government is our recommendation. Otherwise, we will be just tailing them in their way of doing math. Thank you very much, Volodymyr, for your remarks. And Anton, what would you say? Anton Semenko is the associate professor. So, am I right on that there are only two provisions for our science? So, is it going to be included in the program 2021? Then I would also ask Julia to say something, and then we will come back to the rapid previous participants. Also, I was informed that we have time till 18:30, so we will have some time for voting. Good evening, gentlemen. I'd like to support Andrei in what sense this council should be apolitical. Here we have to include opposition and the government members so that we have some constructive dialogue. Is it going to be, is it this council going to be in opposition or is it going to support? It depends. It depends on our governmental agencies. So in some directions we will support them, or maybe it will again depend only on the government. In case it becomes everything necessary on our way to next session, also I'd like to support Volodymyr, namely we have to start something within our country. It's not limited to judicial reform, which is my personal thing, but also a law enforcement reform in law enforcement agencies. So if we're going to make and take into consideration everything we have in this realm, we look like Zimbabwe, like a European country. So some work should be done in this field, and only after that start the outcome.
Дякую, пані Юліє.
Thank
Я
you.
дозволю собі коротко відреагувати на
Let
зауваження пана
me
Володимира.
react to the remarks.
З одного боку,
On
хочу з
one
вами
hand,
погодитися, що
I
так, в РНП
agree
існують
that
певні
there are
пункти,
some
які,
clauses in an
можна навіть
annual
сказати,
national
деколи
program
лазять на голову.
which are
Тобто,
absolutely
що
absurd,
просто їх
which
складно зрозуміти їхню
which
логіку.
look like sheer nonsense. It's hard to understand their
РНП
logic.
має загальну логічну канву.
but annual national plan has some logical
Починається з
sequence
української європейської інтеграції,
which starts with European
продовжується
integration
необхідними
and
реформами
continues
в
with the
секторі
necessary
безпеки, в
reforms
секторі
in the defense
оборони,
and security
і
sector.
все-таки, як мінімум,
And
частина
the
тих речей, які
minimum of such
пропонуються,
things
вони
which
мають
have been
сенс, і тому
suggested,
є сенс їх
they
аналізувати.
they
Це
are
правда, що наш
meaningful
аналіз є
and
попередній.
they deserve to
Це
be
так.
and worth to be
Разом з тим,
analyzed.
навіть в такому
And
вигляді, як на мене, він вже
together
має додану
with
вартість, оскільки
everything
він
we
оцінює
have in the form of
діючу
analysis, it has added
політичну
value because
платформу,
it
яка була
assesses
підписана самим президентом на
actual
виконання
platform
Конституції. Таким чином,
for by our
апдейт
sent by our
річної
president
національної
and the
програми
update of national and annual national
залишається нашим пріоритетом, але
program
він буде
is our
залежати також від наших
priority.
ресурсів, адже розробити
But it
продукт,
depends on our
який є
resources.
аналогічним тому продукту,
So developing
який
the
здійснює
product
уряд,
which is
вимагає дуже
similar to the
серйозних
product which is
ресурсів, не тільки
run by
людських, але також і компетентність.
government. It
І
doesn't
це
demand
є
only
той
resources but
важливий рівень
also competencies.
нашого
And this is
розвитку,
the
який
next
ми
level of
плануємо
our
робити
development,
поряд
which
з
we
тим,
plan
що ми називаємо
alongside with something
NATO
which we call
compliance, це про
NATO
відслідковування
compliance.
поточних
So
дій українського
we
уряду,
monitor
відповідно
the day-to-day
до
actions
того,
of
чи
Ukrainian
відповідають
empowerment,
вони
whether
європейським
they are
пріоритетам.
do everything
На
according to with
питання пана
NATO priorities.
Сергійка
And as
і на
for Mr.
зауваження пані
Semenko
Юлії Кузьменко, я
and Yulia
відповісти
Kuzmenko, I'd like Dmytro to answer those questions.
Так, щодо запитання
As,
пана Антона,
as for Anton's question,
в плані заходів
in the plan of events and measures, especially referring to the issue of education and science, there are two tasks and three events, and according to the data which were provided by the governmental document as for the implementation, there is some work which is being done, and they are in the process of completion. So how it is going to be completed before the end of this year, we will see approximately at the end of January or at the beginning of February when they will have a final report of annual national plan completed by the government. And in order to make an assessment or make an alternative assessment of these measures and events, we will need some expert help.
Дякую, Дмитре.
Thank you.
Пан Володимир має ще
And
зауваження.
Volodymyr has one more remark. In general, I agree with you. I don't believe that during December we can come up with a document which can meet all the strategic aims which you can meet in the context of advancing towards NATO. And I think that we are unfortunately doomed for 2022 to have the same experiment chewing gum with a task formulated like digging deeper and slowing further. Maybe I'm exaggerating a bit, but I was a member of one advocacy group which analyzed some plans, and maybe it was 16, and I analyzed two blocks, foreign policy and security, and the list of measures which were included in that document. I believe that today we have the same, nothing has changed actually. So it was just very, very general, like walking about, which can be easily completed, for example, at the Ministry of Defense in cooperation with OSCE, like deepening relations with the OSCE partners for the purpose of advancing something, blah, blah, blah. So how can you assess such clause? I don't believe it's possible. So to my understanding, we have to become this intellectual foundation which will make our governmental agencies understand and realize that they won't any longer continue this gibberish. And I understand that we have to do it in a professional way, and I totally agree with that. That it demands that definitely demands additional work. But today we have to put a task that annual national plan of 2023 should not be similar to the previous programs because they satisfy both local red tape and NATO red tape because having them reproduced again will never lead us to NATO accession. I was a part of annual national plan experts, and I remember that we discussed these issues a long time ago, and today our aim is not just support some empty statements. It will be just a run for keeping up, but I want to run for achieving results. So let's have an ambitious aim to determine working groups for each field. For example, you mentioned law enforcement bodies. We have to find specialists to understand what should be done in order to make that happen. And in judicial reform, we know that there are a lot of people who know these mechanics, and we have to know what's going on in the Ministry of Defense. So the annual national plan should not be adopted in May, but in December. So there are a lot of things we are very concrete, and NATO personnel will actually put us back to reality because they ask about some concrete actions. They say that waffling about doesn't work for us. So let's be realistic and set ambitious and concrete tasks because about some high-sounding issues which don't produce any results. I would say progress in this. Volodymyr, we understand in the middle of December to evaluate how annual national plan composed and what events, what measures does it include for the next year. So we invite you.
Це те, що ми
So that is what we are going to do in 2022.
тим більше
Moreover,
ініціатива є очевидно,
as our initiative is new, we don't have a capacity to make recommendations for a new year, but at least we can do an assessment of everything which has been done and which has been included in annual national plan. And the next year will enable us to develop alternative recommendations for 2023. And I believe that we will develop a lot of things in the next year with the help of our partners, not only Ukraine, but other countries as well. So, are there any other remarks? Statements? I don't see any other remarks. Thank you very much for your participation, for critical words. What I'd like to do is to hold voting for the provision of our public oversight council, which will transform our initiative group, our advocacy group into the public oversight council. We have distributed in timely manner according to the provision. Our public oversight council will be enlarged, and today I'm moderator and the participants. I'd like you to vote for this unfortunately he had to go. He is an acting member of the state agency who has a lot of things to do, but so we supported this provision. Mr. Kalushka also had some problems with his internet connection, but he, using the messengers, supported the provision. So we have two persons for the provision. So I would do you support that provision?
16 січня.
like back in 16th of January.
Голосом це як 16 січня.
So you mean with our voice, we don't have electronic instrument or mechanism for that.
Просто лапи підняти
So
отак.
maybe we can use these hand indicators.
Можемо так. Пан Володимир підтримує. Пан
So
Олексій,
Volodymyr supports Alexei. Alexei also votes in
чудово.
favor
Пан Ігор,
of provision.
пан Йосип
Igor,
підтримує.
Joseph supports, Igor
Дякую,
supports.
пане Ігоре.
Thank you,
Пан
Igor.
Йосип підтримує. Пані
Joseph
Юлія,
supports, Julia
чи ви підтримуєте?
Julia
Пані
supports
Юлія
the
підтримує.
provision.
Пане Антоне,
Anton, yes, in favor.
підтримуєте. Дуже вам дякую. Пане Михайле,
Thank,
чи ви зараз
thank you very much.
чуєте
Mikhailo, are you
нас?
with us? Do you hear us?
Михайло Гончар.
Mikhailo Gончар.
Звичайно.
Не чую.
We don't
так.
hear you.
Пан
We don't read you.
Так, так, я чую.
Yeah, I hear.
Е,
Support,
Чи
definitely.
ви також підтримуєте?
Yes, definitely I support.
Дякую, вибачайте за таку.
Thank you very much. Excuse me for this weird procedure of Zoom voting, but we wanted to have it in a real time. And let's agree that advocacy group agreed on the provision of the Public Oversight Council. So today we start it, and we plan, as for our next event in December, to suggest our understanding for annual national plan for 2022. I would like to give the final word to Andrei Laus.
Тому що у нас щось напередодні.
Well, as you know, we have coup d'etat, which is planned on the 1st of December. As you know, actually this is sarcasm, but it's an illustrious example of the initiative. Our initiative can be kind of space, a platform for discussion together, and for the discussion with the authorities. I would not exclude that. So our society in such difficult times, we can see a possibility of Russian aggression should be focused on this moment when we seriously talk about the new agreement, so-called new agreement, of the guarantees of security guarantees in Ukraine. And some experts, even Western experts, say that one of the conditions of such treaty agreement can be altogether refusal of Ukraine from NATO accession, and Kremlin says that verbatim that NATO is the red line. NATO in Ukraine is the red line, which Kremlin will never let us cross. So we are going to be really topical in this regard. Besides these things, which they are reactive things, because analysis is a reactive thing. We should switch to proactive things, and here I support Volodymyr that we should turn everything into the proper methodology, from general to the concrete, to determine the main aims of annual national program. Well, we say that NATO doesn't have a political will to accept Ukraine, but speakers on behalf of our government, they speculate using this issue, and they say that everything is good. They put all the blame on NATO, saying that NATO is not eager to admit Ukraine. This is clear manipulation, because Ukraine, for example, so when we talk about AP quota, and then we start trying to put flash chat. So that's what we are doing since the revolution of dignity, and we have like a huge direction for implementing issues like changing the idea of security service, because it's still based on KGB strategies, military procurement, the law of confidential information. So even if every public servant in NATO, in other executive bodies, they want coordinate, cooperate with Ukrainians because the systems are different, especially when you exchange and share information. And this is very sad fact. But we have so many obstacles on this way, and these are painful issues, much more painful than we can see on the plan of events developed by government. We have to inform community, society, media, political class, parliament, and focus their attention on the priorities. And even if there is no map decision, we should make all the necessary reforms, because in case of flaring up the tensions with Russia, we will be definitely having assistance from NATO. Because even now, we cannot have this assistance fully, especially regarding the armament, because our defensive procurement is not performed. So this is really important aspect. And one final remark: after the victory of Revolution of Dignity, we had a good parliamentary practice of considering all fields of law which are considered by the parliament. So it's in two committees. So this is the first committee. It's Committee of Euro-Atlantic Integration and some corruption risk in so-called Anti-Corruption Committee of the Parliament through the prism of such approaches. And I believe that we are going to act, and we are acting right now, and next time we're going to present that in the same way, that not only things which are planned by the government, because the government plans not the systematic approach, especially interagencies planning. We have to objectively assess the important laws which are being adopted by the parliament, decrees sent by the president, and we have already done. Thanks to Ria Rebelska, she made a huge contribution into the expertise according to the NATO standards, NATO documents, and their approach is on the law against oligarchs, law on countering oligarchs. So we will publicize that. First, we familiarize our members with that. Also, we develop a law on national resistance instead of reserve army or territorial defense, which this is just regulation national, which was adopted by Supreme Council. So, what is important, which comes out of the government, can be assessed through the prism of Public Oversight Council and annual national program, because formally we can act according to some regulations and instructions on behalf of some red tape from the ministries, but documents which contradict to the whole mindset of NATO, and we are going to work in this regard and request all the members of Public Oversight Council to give us your insights and help us with engaging experts in order to develop these issues and do it publicly. And as for the plans that I've already mentioned, we are going to work on the principles and approaches of developing annual national program to be our next task. And as for the organizational issues, we have already voted for the provision. I also ask you think about those people whom we can also invite to join this Public Oversight Council. So I don't believe it's a big deal. It's not usually difficult, but it needs to be done. And as for the experts, look at whom we engage, and I would be happy to have your recommendations in order to enlarge the expert pool, to engage different people in order to to raise the level of our quality of our assessment, and now we are conducting talks with the diplomatic corps. So right now there is a simultaneous interpretation for other for the diplomatic corps, and they can see this everything live. And we did not produce anything like in the form of show everything goes online, everything goes live. So this is the first principle of transparency in all our ways. So we won't have any even possibility for manipulation. Do we have any announcements? Excuse me.
Пане Олексій.
Треба про такі речі, що ми
So,
в ефірі треба попереджати.
so you better tell in advance that we are doing online live. So we didn't say anything bad. We didn't call people to the street, but it's better to tell that in advance to go online.
Самі речі і в ефірі, і поза ефіром. Тому
So there are different lexical units and way to express this or that thing. Well, I believe you understand me. Well, we announced that publicly. Okay. Well, we will pay attention to that our internal communication will be smart. Thank you. And one more thing, you said that you can share the link to online broadcasting in social networks, but I didn't do that. Excuse me. Well, do we have any other remarks on the part of the participants of this meeting? Julia and Igor also did that. So then they suggest that we finish today. Next time we will meet in December when we are going to discuss what will be the annual national program 2022 and what will be the priorities for implementing it, what should be changed, taking into consideration remarks on behalf of Volodymyr Olesko. And thank you very much for this meeting, for this almost half an hour work, the time spent together. Excuse me for some procedural Zoom online sessions and voting online. These are quite new for us. Thank you very much. I agree with you on the beginning, which we have done today, and we made an important step in this direction. Goodbye and take care. See you next time.